Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to today's video and the Ruslan G YouTube channel. If you haven't been here before, welcome, namaste. Hopefully you enjoy your time here and hopefully you enjoyed this video because today we're going to be talking about the 5 investments that return over 500% or more in a short period of time. And one of the things that I wanted to mention is I don't condone investing in the short term. And for the most part, I am a long-term investor. So these are just some of the companies that I was able to buy and sell. And some of them I could have held on to longer and made more, and others I timed just right to the point of maximum return. So you're gonna get to see both sides of the equation there. And hopefully you guys enjoy this one because this took a few years to put together because I actually had to make these trades. Whether they worked out or not, I wanted to share my experience with you. And for the most part, they did really, really well for me. So hopefully you enjoy this. This is just for educational purposes only. And without further ado, let's dive right into this one. Alright guys, so the first one I wanted to include on this list is Snapchat. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this one is because it has an interesting story behind it, and it's not one of those, tech giants that you could have thrown in $100 and in 10 years you would have made thousands and thousands of dollars or even millions of dollars. This is a company that IPO'd at about the same price that it is now in 2020 that I'm recording this video. So it IPO'd about $24, shot up to 27, and then immediately plummeted down for about a year, straight down into the gutter, and it ended up being between $4, $5, and $6 for quite some time, and just kind of hung out there for quite a while. So I got a call from a friend named Das, and he called me up and said, hey, my friends are telling me to sell all my Snapchat shares, right? I think he bought it at the same time I did originally, around $10. That's when I started to get heavily into this company. And he said, hey, they're telling me to sell all my shares. What should I do? And they're telling me all these things. The company's gonna go bankrupt. It's gonna get delisted, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, one of the things that we have to do as long-term investors is see the light at the end of the tunnel. And for a lot of us, we get into panic mode. And I think what his friends were doing, and sometimes I feel this way too, is they were pressuring him to make a decision that was unbeknownst to him. He didn't really want to make that decision because he knew, and that's why he called me, is he knew that there was potential to be made. He just didn't know why or how it's going to come about. So I told him, hey, you don't have to take my word for it. But what I'm doing is I'm not selling my shares. I'm actually buying more. So I ended up buying most of my shares during the $5, $6 range. And now the stock price is hovering around $22 and $24. And I actually sold at about $25 per share. That is exactly a 500% return. So I wanted to include that one as part of this list because it also has an interesting story. One of my friends wanted to buy it, wasn't sure, and he had the pressure from his friends to maybe possibly sell the positions at a loss. Remember, he would have lost money because he probably got in around the same time that I did, which is 10, 11, 12 bucks, something like that. And what I told him is I said, if you believe what I'm telling you, this stock price is going to double or triple in the very short term. Just watch. And for me, short term, again, is like 1, 2, 3 years, something like that. So overall, it did that. And not only that, but it actually went above and beyond. And it went from 5 to 6 to 10 to 20. And now it's hovering around 25. So that's a great, great investment that I made and that one of my friends made as well and didn't sell and actually bought more. So now we both walk away with a lot of money. So the next one on the list, you probably know, it's been in the news hundreds of times, and that is Tesla. And Tesla recently did a stock split. So the way I'm going to explain where I bought and where I sold is actually pre-stock split. I could have made more money on this if I would have held out. I've seen what happened to Bitcoin. I've seen what happened in the dot-com bubble. So I figured I'm going to invest my money intelligently, and I made such a huge amount of percentage profit in such a short period of time that I had to take some profits off the table. So I ended up buying Tesla shares at around 200. The lowest I got them is at 198. I kept buying and buying between 200 and 250 were kind of my biggest purchasing decisions, right? After that, the stock price went to 500 bucks. I took a little bit of a profit off the table. I think it was like 10 or 15%, nothing crazy, but I wanted to watch and see where this thing goes, right? So then I waited and waited. And so from there, it went straight to 800 in a heartbeat, like just super quick, right? I actually ended up selling about half of my position at 800. And I said, okay, so it's going up at this exponential rate. And I was sitting there thinking at 800, Should I sell all of it? So I ended up actually selling some of my position. I would say probably around 40 to 50%. And then the stock price kept going. And as you probably know, it went all the way up to 2000. Now I didn't sell at 2000. There is no way to predict where it's gonna go in what period of time. All I knew is that it has gone up exponentially and I could not leave these profits on the table in case it plummets. So what I decided to do is I took another profit around $1,200 and I still have a little bit of Tesla stock left. Definitely not as much as I had before, but again, it was one of those that returned 500% plus in a very short period of time. I think I only held that stock for roughly about a year before it exploded to the levels that it has. And now it's probably sitting at, pre-stock split, if we're looking at it that way, I think it's sitting at around $1,800. So still pretty high up there, but I think it has some room to go back down. And that's why I haven't rebought a lot of the stock yet. So next on the list, we have Litecoin. And this is part of the crypto family. So this is blockchain technology, crypto technology. If you'd like me to do a video on it, let me know down in the comment section below. You know what? I probably will do a video on it because I think it's a very fascinating space. But let's talk about Litecoin, because Litecoin during the 2017, 2018 boom was a very, very small coin. I think it was in the top 20 list at the time, something like that. And I was looking at it and I said, okay, I love Bitcoin. I bought Bitcoin back then. I think Bitcoin was at like a $3,000 price target, something like that. But Litecoin was sitting at this nice $30, $40, $50 price point. And I said, look, this coin is so little, right? As far as their market cap, their price, their volume is increasing over time. And it was being labeled as the silver of crypto, right? So the gold is obviously Bitcoin. That is like the godfather, right, of cryptocurrencies. And then we had Litecoin. And Litecoin is still on the top 10 list of all digital assets that exist today. Although the price is only $60 a share, but it's still a lot higher than it was when I was purchasing it. So I actually bought Litecoin between 30, 40, and 50 bucks. Those were kind of the price ranges where I bought the most amount of Litecoin. And in about 4 to 6 month period, we had a huge rally in Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin. All the cryptocurrencies went on this crazy boom. And it ended up going as high as $300. I think it actually might have gone to $400 if I remember correctly, but only for like an hour, and then it dropped back to $300. So I ended up selling around $280, all of my Litecoin position, because I heard news that Charlie Lee, the creator, was also thinking of selling his positions. Guess what? About a week later, he sold all his positions around $280, $300, something like that. He sold them all, and since then, I haven't looked back, because that was one that returned so much over 500%. I think it was closer to 800% returns in such a short period of time. I had to execute the trade. I had to get out, and luckily I did, because now Litecoin's only trading at 60 bucks a share. Maybe at the time you're watching it's 70, 80, but overall it allowed me to put money into other projects. And what I did was I bought a project called Chainlink. And Chainlink is one of those that is also on the cryptocurrency platform, and a very new coin that has been growing at a crazy pace since the big cycle of 2017, 2018, right? So what happened with Chainlink is I bought it at around $2. I think it was like $2.50, $2.30, something like that per share, per coin. And in a very short period of time, again, because it was added to different exchanges like Coinbase, which again, the link is down below. If you don't have a Coinbase account, go check that out. It was added to Coinbase, and that shot up the price because people were starting to look at the coin as one of the new coins on the platform. And this platform has blown up quite significantly since its time. So if you think about it, when a new coin goes on a bunch of new markets, more people can buy into it, especially users that are already on that platform. So they get intrigued and they buy these coins. And so it's very similar to when a stock IPOs. What happened with Chainlink is it shot up from 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to $20 a share. So I ended up selling about 50 or 60% of my position around the $13, $14, and $15 range in chunks, in small chunks. And I kind of figured it would go up to 20, but it only went up to 20 for about a couple hours, and then it crashed down, and now it's sitting about $16 per share, per coin. It's one of those that only took about a year to go from $2 all the way to $20 a coin. And again, you cannot project the exact price it's going to go to. You're not gonna be able to sell at the exact price that you want to sell at. You also won't be able to buy. Like I wish now, obviously hindsight's 2020, I wish I would have bought some of these companies even earlier, but of course you can't predict those things, right? And so what I can do is I can buy something that I believe in, right? A lot of times it's before there's a lot of hype around it. That's the goal. and wait for this hype moment because it deserves it. A lot of times these crypto projects, they have value, and they have this value that people don't see right away. And so if you're looking for something that you can invest into, stay subscribed to this channel because you're gonna learn a lot of things along my journey, and maybe things you can take away that I've done or missed out on or gained a lot of value from. So go hit the subscribe button. I'm gonna give you this one chance. So hopefully you already did it. But regardless, let's go on to the last 500% gain stock, which happens to be Square. Now, a lot of you guys know Square as the payment platform, and a lot of my friends and colleagues, they didn't know that Square had a stock until most recently. Now there's a lot of hype around it. But I actually heard about Square when it was first coming out. I actually had a Square device. I didn't even use it. I just thought it was really interesting that you could take your phone, plug in this little device, and you can receive payments digitally. I thought it was very fascinating. This is before Venmo, this is before PayPal. So as soon as they IPO'd, I said, why not? Let's take a little gamble. And I bought, I think it was only like a share or two, nothing crazy at first, right? Now I own a little bit more, but I did buy at IPO. And this one is really interesting because I bought it right at IPO, and usually companies drop at first during IPOs. This company didn't really drop. I bought it at $10.20 per share, and now it's sitting at around 150. It might be a little bit different today, but over $150 per share is what it's sitting at now. So if you look at that, that's a crazy return. I wish I bought thousands of shares. Obviously, I didn't know at the time. I also didn't have thousands of dollars to do that with, but I'm still holding on to those shares because I think Square has a long way to go still to this day, even though it is a little bit overpriced in my opinion. But again, the payment processing platforms are only growing every single day. PayPal, Venmo, Square, Cash App, all these places where you can exchange money with peers and businesses for services and goods and money lending, and all this, in my opinion, is only gonna increase over the long term. So that is why I continue to hold that company. Obviously, I still hold a little bit of each one of these companies. I don't think they're ever gonna go away. And again, this is not investment advice, so take it with a grain of salt. These are just the things that I wanted to share with you, how I return 500% plus on these companies and these investments. So hopefully you learned something. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below, and I'm happy to answer anything that you have. Without further ado, see you guys in the next one, and peace out.